Good morning. So treating people the way that you would want to be treated. I'm sure you've heard that age-old adage, right? Treat people the way that you want to be treated. Well, I'm here this morning to tell you that I believe that that is absolutely bullshit. For example, if somebody was like, okay, Glenn, check it out, man. You're going to have your perfect day. You get your perfect day. You get to do whatever you want. You can spend it how you want. So me personally, what I would do is I would wake up really early, right? I would wake up early. I'm an early riser. I get up at about 3:50 a.m. every single day. I love the mornings. I don't do coffee. I don't do caffeine. I never have. I'm just full of energy. I'm ready to attack the day. I believe that sleep is a waste of time. I cannot do anything productive, so I only sleep when I have to, right? And so I would wake up nice and early on this epic day that I get to plan out that's specifically designed just for me. And then I would spend some time listening to motivational speakers, right? Like I like Eric Thomas and Les Brown and Tony Robbins. I would do some self-help, some self-development, spend some time in prayer. That's how I just love to start my day personally. I know we're all maybe a little different. I know a lot of people hate morning people like myself, right? Look, they're like, yeah, But that's how I like to start my perfect day. Then from there, I'd probably eat a bowl of Fruity Pebbles, because I am not a healthy eater in any way, shape, or form. Give me color, give me, what is it? I can't remember the thing. But anyways, give me the bad stuff, right? I love the bad stuff, so I'd probably eat a bowl of Fruity Pebbles first thing in the morning. And then from there, I'd probably go hit the links. Anybody play golf? Right? There's nothing better than a golf course in the morning with no one on it. Not a single person. I like to tee off at like 6:45 a.m. And I live in just outside of Lexington, Kentucky, in a tiny little town called Paris, Kentucky, a population 9,600. We have this incredible golf course called Houston Oaks Golf Course, one of the top 10 golf courses in the United States. It's right there in my backyard. So I'll go out there 6:45 a.m. Nobody's in my way. Nobody can see if I roll that ball just a little bit, right? Mulligan or two, maybe. And I get to enjoy some time out on the links first thing in the morning. This is how I would start my perfect day. And then from there, I'd go to a good kids movie with my kids, right? Just Transformers. That's a kids movie, right? Come on. You can work that in there. Go to a good kids movie with my kids. I like spending time with them. We love going to the movies. Their mother can't stand going to the movies, so I get to go to all the movies, right? Sometimes good, sometimes bad. Sometimes they take a nap. Sometimes it's Megan Fox, right? So then from there, after going to the kids movie with the kids, what I'd probably do is jump to the 50-yard line at an Oakland Raiders game. Now, I know we probably don't. Do we got any Raiders fans in here? Yes, one. My man, that's what I'm talking about. Hey, I get you a T-shirt. I got a T-shirt, buddy. Raider Nation, buddy. Raider Nation.
My helmet doesn't fit.
This guy. Oh my gosh, I wasn't ready for that. But I'd probably go to a Raiders game and I'd sit on the 50-yard line right up front and I'd watch my Raiders get their butts kicked by somebody else, right? Some other team. It's typically what happens. But that would be a part of my amazing, absolutely perfect day. Now from there, what I'd like to do is jump into a private helicopter that I do not own, but I dream of often. I've worked on my pilot's license. I can fly that thing if somebody will give me the keys. So I would jump in a private helicopter. I'd fly out here, probably to LA, and I'd go to a Lakers game where I would sit courtside right next to this guy and watch the Lakers play basketball. At the end of that incredible day where I've woken up early, I've done all my things, and I got to spend some time with the kids, and I went to the Raiders game, and I flew in the private helicopter, and I went over to the Lakers game. Then I would go into the Lakers locker room and celebrate a little bit with the guys, right? Kobe would still be there. He wouldn't be retired. And I'd celebrate with all the Lakers, and it'd be just this epic moment. And then from there, I would run home, and I would do that thing that I do with my wife that created those 7 children. And she'd be wearing a Raiders shirt. And that, my friends, would be my perfect day. Now, what I want you to do is let's take this age-old adage of treat others the way that we want to be treated. So I'm thinking, if it was Mother's Day, and I told my wife that we were going to get up at 3:50 in the morning, we were going to write down our gratitude and goals, we were going to listen to Eric Thomas and Les Brown, we were going to eat some Fruity Pebbles, we were going to head out to watch a movie with the kids when she hates watching movies. And then we were going to go to Raiders games, which she hates watching football. And then we were going to go in a helicopter, which she hates flying. And then we were going to go to a Lakers game, which she can't stand basketball. And then we were going to have wild sex all night, which she can't. Well, I don't know. You'd have to ask her how she feels about that. We have a lot of kids, though. I'll tell you that. Do the math. But if you told her that's what we were going to do on Mother's Day, she'd tell you, you're crazy. You're absolutely crazy, Glenn Lundy. There ain't no way in heck I'm spending my Mother's Day doing all the things that you would want to do. There's no way I'm going to let you treat me the way that you would want to be treated on my day. So I believe this adage of treating others the way that you want to be treated is bullshit. I think the reality is we need to start treating people the way that they want to be treated. In 2004, I lost custody of this beautiful young girl. This is my oldest daughter. She's 20 years old now. And in 2004, I lost full custody of her, and for 8 years, from her being age 6 to age 14, I had 0 contact with her. I wasn't allowed to call her, I wasn't allowed to see her, I wasn't allowed to visit with her, I wasn't allowed to know anything about her, period, for eight long years. And the reason that I lost custody of her at 6 years old, because I raised her, she was in my house every single day. Her mom was a captain for an EMT company in Flagstaff, Arizona. She would work these 48-hour shifts and 72-hour shifts. And so basically she was with me all of the time up until that fateful day that she wasn't. She was immediately taken away from me, and there's some weird custody issues. And like Chris was saying earlier, where's Chris who just spoke? Like Chris, not that Chris, the other Chris, there he is. Like Chris was saying earlier, it was everybody else's fault. It wasn't mine, right? I blamed everybody else for the reason that I lost my daughter, but the reality was my daughter was not a priority to me. Back then, in that point of my life, everything that I did was about me. I was a selfish person. I treated people the way that I wanted to be treated, which meant I was kind to people, I was caring to people, I bought drugs for people and hoped they'd buy drugs for me. Everything was selfish. Every action that I did, I partied hard, I took her for granted, I didn't treat her the way she wanted to be treated. I treated everybody the way that I wanted to be treated. And ultimately, when I lost custody of her, that sent me on a spiral. It sent me downhill nowhere fast. I couldn't stand the idea of being in the same city as my daughter and not being able to talk to her, not being able to see her. What if I ran across her in the store and her mom would like drag her away? That's the image I had in my head, right? It's like if I see her in the store, her mom's just gonna yank her and she's gonna be running towards me and she's gonna pull her away. Like I tortured myself with these thoughts. And so I left Flagstaff, Arizona, and I went on this crazy spiral where I was in and out of jail. I was doing drugs. I was partying, blaming everybody for everything that I did wrong or that they did wrong in their lives. And it took me on this journey. I left Flagstaff, Arizona. I went down to Phoenix. I went over to Southern California. I was in Long Beach for a little while. Then from Long Beach, I went down to Tustin, California. From Tustin, California, I went down to San Diego, California. And ultimately, I ended up homeless. I'd been in and out of jail. I was broke. I'd burned every single bridge that you could possibly burn. I had nowhere to turn. And so I was homeless on the streets of San Diego, California. And I gotta tell you, if you're gonna pick somewhere to be homeless, San Diego's not that bad. The weather's great, scenery's incredible. But the worst part was, when I was on the beaches, I would sleep on the beaches. When I was on the beaches, I would wake up in the mornings and I would see the families. I would see, the guy and the girl, they're like skipping down the beach, holding hands, those romantic moments. And the kids would be running by. And I would see the wealth and abundance that exists in this world. And so I'd see all of these things, but yet none of these things ever saw me. People wouldn't make eye contact with me. I was the homeless guy over in the corner. People wouldn't have a conversation with me. Maybe I was gonna ask them for money, or maybe I was gonna rob them. They didn't know. So I became this invisible human being, completely invisible. And every day was the same. I'd wake up in the morning and I'd start walking around. I was never the type of person that could ask for money, so I would walk around and look on the ground for change. I would try to find quarters and dimes and nickels. If I could get 99 cents, then I could get like a sausage McMuffin from McDonald's, right? I told you I eat like crap. I still do. But if I could find enough change to get a 99-cent McMuffin, that'd be good. And then once I got the McMuffin in the morning, I would continue to walk around in the streets just looking for change so that I could get on the bus. And sometimes I would just hop on the bus and I would just drive around on the city bus. It would just go and it would just go, and I could sleep there and I could be safe. And every day was just the same. Find some change, eat a little food, get on the bus, be invisible to all of the people. Find a little change, eat some food, get on the bus, be invisible to some people. And ultimately it got so repetitive and I had lost all hope that I decided the best thing that I could do for my life and for other people was to end my life. So I went to La Jolla, California, which actually yesterday, Brandon, my business partner, he told me I have to clarify that while I'm in California. my business partner. Him and I went to this spot right here, and this is the spot in La Jolla, California, where I decided that I was gonna take my own life because, as the stereotypes say, Black people, we don't do so good with water. I'm not a very good swimmer. And so I thought, man, if I could just swim out far enough, I won't be able to make it back in. And then I won't have to continue with this cycle over and over and over of being invisible, finding the change, finding the food, riding the bus. So I waited. It was later in the winter, so it wasn't this crowded, and I waited until everybody was basically gone and kind of worked my way down and decided I was gonna take my own life. And I walked out this area here, and I remember like the water splashing on my feet and that feeling. And at first there was some fear and there was some anxiety, there was some trepidation. But as I stepped out a little bit further and the water started to get a little bit higher, it started to rise and I started to get a little more buoyant, You start to get that buoyant feeling. And so I was kind of bouncing off the ground and floating in the water a little bit. And as I got out there, I started to feel like a little bit more peaceful, like, okay, this is good. Like, this will be the end. Mom won't have to worry. Dad won't have to worry. I can't hurt anybody anymore. I'm not going to make any more mistakes. I won't be invisible. My life doesn't matter anyway. So all those thoughts just kind of go through my head. I can't see my daughter. I don't have to worry about that. She doesn't have to worry about me. We'll just end it all. And so I kind of went out deeper and further. And as I went out, the water starts to splash on my face and you get the salt like on your lips. And then I start to like breathe heavier and my heart starts to race and I'm kind of like getting to a point of a little bit of a doggy paddle, right? I'm doggy paddling because I'm not a good swimmer at all, and it's starting to slap, and I'm starting to get a little bit of water in my mouth, and I'm starting to like reach that point, and all of a sudden there was just this moment as I couldn't touch anymore and my head started to go under for longer periods of time. There was this moment of peace, like where I was just comfortable. Like, this is it. This is the end. It's all over. And I gotta tell you, I've experienced that moment of peace one other time. This is my grandfather, Alfred Smith. My grandfather, Alfred Smith, was the epitome of American dad, right? Like, he was married to his high school sweetheart. They were married for 49 years. My grandmother never had a driver's license the entire time that they were together. She never had a job. He took care of everything. They did absolutely everything together. My grandfather, I never once saw him not in a shirt and tie, ever. Military man, military his entire life. All his kids were in the military. He traveled. He was just this incredible human being that I looked up to. He was like this G.I. Joe superhero figure, right? Just the epitome of man. And I looked up to my grandfather so very much. My grandfather got cancer, and it spread quickly, and he was thin and frail before we knew it. And I remember getting a phone call. I got this phone call. I was in Kentucky, and they said, "Hey, Glenn, you need to get to the hospital. Your grandfather's not going to last much longer. Like, he could literally die any minute. So you need to get out here." And so the whole family gets this phone call, and of course we're a military family, so there's people spread out all over the place, right? So everybody's trying to get airline tickets and trying to figure out the travel and how we're gonna get there, and everybody wants to get there because this man, and just honor this incredible man, so we all wanna get there before he passes away. So there's kind of this race to get there before Grandpa dies, because they're saying he could go any second, like any minute. So I jump on the plane, I get to Kentucky, there's only a couple family members, or get to Kentucky, I get to Arizona, and there's only a couple family members left once I get there. And so we're all meeting together, and we're kind of hanging out, and there's my grandfather, and I don't even recognize him. Like, he just didn't even look like the man that I knew, because he's thin, and he's skinny, and his eyes are sunken in, and he just looked feeble and in pain, and it's awful. It's awful. And so I got there, and we waited that night, and we were still waiting for my Aunt Julie, and another, about a full day. She was coming all the way from Florida. So about a day and a half after I got there, then the final family member arrived. And Grandpa had held on this whole time. He just held on. So the final family member arrives, and we all go in the room, and we're standing around my grandfather's bed. He's laying there in the bed. We're all standing around kind of in a semicircle. And my grandfather says to my stepdad, Everett, he says, "Everett." Not that bold, but that's how I see my grandpa, right? It's more like Everett. But you know what I mean? He's like, "Everett, get over here. Will you please come tell me my favorite joke?" Now, I already told you that my grandfather's military, so if he has a favorite joke from the military, it's probably a little bit dirty, right? You guys okay with dirty jokes? You're car people, right? I can go there. I believe yesterday you were talking about dildos in here, is what I heard. So I think I'm safe. So my grandfather says, "Everett, come over here and tell me your favorite joke, or my favorite joke." So my stepdad goes over to the bed, and he leans into my grandfather, and he says, "Hey, Al, what do you call Moby Dick's father?" And my grandpa kind of puts on a little bit of a smile. He chuckles. He says, "What do you call him, Everett?" Everett says, "Papa Boner." And so we all chuckled a little bit, just like you all did. And a couple tears go down, we laugh. And then my grandfather says, "Bring me my wife." And so my grandmother, all like 4'2" of her, she's like this tiny little woman. And she walks over, this woman who had been cared for, nurtured, and loved by this man her entire life. And she walks over and she climbs into bed with my grandfather. And he wrapped his arms around her, and he passed away. right there in that moment. Now that particular moment taught me two major things in life. The first thing that it taught me is that we are spiritual beings, period. You can't convince me otherwise. Science cannot explain to me how my grandfather was able to wait. When he was there to die, any second, he waited till the very last family member showed up. Science can't explain to me how he got to choose how he went out. He went out with his favorite joke and with his wife in his arms. Science cannot explain that to me. We are spiritual beings. The second thing that it taught me is that we are most comfortable in life right before death. You see, right before that moment where he passed away, my grandpa was recognizable again. It was like the color came back into his skin. It was like he filled back out. We were telling jokes and he was holding his wife. There was this moment right before death where he was comfortable. This same moment that I shared in the ocean as my head started to bob under. But here's the thing. I know that people tend to seek comfort. And if we now know that we're most comfortable in life right before death, I don't know about you, but I personally am not ready to die yet. Are you? Are you?
No.
So to me, it seems like we got to start seeking some of these things that make us uncomfortable, right? So luckily for me, God plucked me out of the ocean. Right as I thought everything was going to come to an end, I went under, I was at peace, it was time for me to go. And all of a sudden, my feet hit the ground, and I was like, what? And I popped up out of the water, and I looked around, and I was such a terrible swimmer, and the tide had been coming in, and it had pushed me right back up on the shore. I couldn't even swim out. I rolled up on the beach, and I thought, my gosh, what a failure I am. I can't even kill myself, right? That was my first thought. My second thought was, oh man, apparently I can't take the easy way out. I'm gonna have to work my way out of this. I'm gonna have to try something new. And so I started studying and I started learning more disciplines and I started thinking about this whole thing where, treating other people the way they want to be treated might be a better thing to do than treating people the way I necessarily want to be treated. And so I started working and creating different disciplines. I started developing myself as a better person. I started finding ways that I could serve other people and I could serve them in better ways. I started disassociating myself from some of my buddies, right? I started disassociating myself from some of my buddies and started creating some new circles. I started working towards becoming a better person and having more success. And then as I did that, I started to create this morning routine. I call it the morning 5 simple steps to an extraordinary life. I started to notice that there were certain disciplines that if I applied in my life, I tended to get better results all the way around. 5 simple things. So I'm going to share those 5 simple things with you this morning. One of the very first things that I learned is I learned about sleep cycles. I told you guys earlier that I don't sleep very much at all, right? But I can tell you this, I probably sleep better than you. I just do it faster. You see, I've learned that as human beings, we have sleep cycles. These sleep cycles came all the way from the caveman days, back in the day where it didn't make sense to sleep for 8 hours in a coma because you would get eaten by a saber-toothed tiger. Or something. I'm not a historian. But it wasn't safe. So what we do is we sleep in cycles. We go down into a deep sleep, we come up into a light sleep, down into a deep sleep, up into a light sleep. Most people's cycles are anywhere from 2 to 3 hours on our sleep cycles. So I learned this about myself. I'm like, okay, I learned this about my sleep cycle. I'm like, okay, my sleep cycle, me personally, is 2 hours and 10 minutes each sleep cycle. So if I sleep 2 hours and 10 minutes, then I will be just as energetic as if I sleep 4 hours and 20 minutes or 6 hours and 30 minutes. But if I sleep anywhere in between, I will be lethargic. And I couldn't quite understand why I had a hard time in the morning until I understood this thing about sleep cycles. So rule number 1 is I need you to never, ever, ever hit the snooze button. Never hit the snooze button. Here's why. When you're going through these sleep cycles, your body has adjusted to your normal routine of when you go to bed and when you wake up. When you're going through these sleep cycles, your body is ready to get up when that alarm clock goes off, or even 5 minutes before, typically. The instant you hit that snooze button, you are now sending yourself back down into another sleep cycle. That means you are now going to be groggy. You're not going to be at peak efficiency for another 2 hours and 10 minutes in my case, right? As soon as you hit the snooze. So I got 10 more minutes of sleep, but now I'm sacrificing 2 hours of grogginess to get that 10 more minutes. So I figured out, and it was hard at first, but I figured out if I just never hit the snooze button and stay within my sleep cycles, I can perform more effectively and more efficiently. I do a show Monday through Friday morning, 5:30 a.m. called #Rise and Grind. I go live on Facebook no matter where I am in the United States or in the world, I'm there. I had to do that show, today is Saturday, yesterday morning from LA. I had to do the show at 2:30 a.m. because I do it at 5:30 Eastern. So I had to do the show at 2:30 a.m. I was here with you guys for a little bit. I wasn't going to be able to get 4 hours and 20 minutes to sleep, so I actually stayed up a little bit later, watched a scary movie in a scary hotel in downtown LA. Probably not the best idea. But I watched a scary movie and then timed myself to where I went to sleep for 2 hours and 10 minutes. I woke up at 1:30 in the morning. I did my 5 things, which I'll go through the rest. I delivered my show effectively, full of energy, ready to rock and roll. Never hit the snooze button. The second thing that I learned, The second thing that I learned, the second step, is don't touch your phone first thing in the morning. Never touch your phone first thing in the morning. Now, I got to put a little caveat in there. If you listen to music on your phone that doesn't have words, then you can do that. Throw your headphones on, put the music on. But by don't touch your phone, I mean don't go into Facebook, don't go into social media, don't go into your emails, don't go into your text messages, don't play anything with words, don't do any of that stuff. Because what I've learned is our brain, it just wants to consume, right? As soon as we wake up, it just consumes. It's like, give me information. I need more. What's going on? Am I alive? Am I dead? Am I sick? Am I healthy? Where do I have to go? What's next? It's ready to consume. So if you go immediately into your phone, and you go immediately out into the world, you are allowing the outside world to basically fill your brain. You're feeding your brain the same crap food that I eat. First thing in the morning, you're feeding it mass shootings, you're feeding it Trump versus Hillary, you're feeding it propaganda, you're feeding it, if you're younger, maybe you're feeding it Fortnite where you're flossing over people's dead bodies, whatever it is. That's what you're feeding your brain first thing in the morning if you grab that phone. So I learned when I stay away from the phone first thing in the morning and instead fill my mind with good positive things, good positive sounds that can get me riding on a good frequency, right? I found I was more efficient, I had more energy, and I started to have more success. Step number 3, right? We woke up, we didn't hit the snooze button. The second thing that we did is we put our headphones on and we listened to music with no words. I can't stress that enough. I know some of you guys are like, die, kill, first thing in the morning, right? We can't do that, man. Save that for later. First thing in the morning, I need some soothing sounds, all right? Don't put yourself to sleep, but let's keep it calm. Let's keep it cool. Let's get it going. We got work to do, right? We got wives to take care of. We have spouses that we love. We have kids that need us. We got to be at peak performance every single day. So take that time in the morning to yourself. Step 3 is we're going to write down everything that we're thankful for. By everything, I mean 10 things. If you want to do more, that's great, but you don't have a whole lot of time, right? We got work to do. So I want you to write down what you're grateful for. Gratitude and goals is step 3. Gratitude and goals. Write that note down. Now that sounds like 2 steps, gratitude and goals, but it's actually 1, and here's why. A lot of people write their goals down in the morning, but they don't write it from a place of gratitude. They write it from a place of lack. Oh, I wish I had that. I want this. I could have, so on and so forth. When you write goals from a place of lack, it just kills you inside. It's not healthy. We want to write our goals from a place of gratitude. So you start off your day, you just write down the things that you're thankful for. And sometimes it's not easy, right? Like sometimes you're like, oh man, it's early, I gotta go to work today. And so what am I, okay, all right. I'm thankful I have a roof over my head. Sometimes we just gotta start there. For a guy like me, that means a lot. For the people that you walked by on your way here this morning, that means a lot. Sometimes we just start there. I'm grateful for my spouse. I'm grateful for my kids. I'm grateful for electricity. I'm grateful for clean laundry. I'm whatever the grateful is, right? And what will end up happening is as you start with these simple things, your mind will start to expand into some bigger things. And then you'll start saying, like, I'm grateful that I just won that Jeep that Chris Collins gave away, right? Like you'll start getting into some bigger thing. I'm grateful that our service department has grown and expanded. I'm grateful that the owners put 10 more lifts in there so we can actually get some more hours, right? Like you'll start to expand into these bigger and better things. First thing in the morning, man. That's good brain food. You start to see how far you've come, the wins that you've had, the struggles you've overcame. You start to see all of those things. As you're going into your day, you start to puff up a little bit, right? Your Superman starts to come out, or Superwoman, Wonder Woman, Supergirl, whichever one, whoever you like. Starts to come out of you, right? She-Hulk. Starts to come out because we're thinking about how far we've come, all the things that we've done, all the things that we've accomplished. First thing in the morning. So once you've done that, we didn't hit the snooze button. Yes, we had a win first thing in the morning. We didn't hit the snooze button. We got the good tunes going in. We're doing our gratitude and goals. We're thinking about how far we've come and how far we want to go, right? We're setting our goals, and I want you to set your goals with I am statements. Anytime you write a goal, it should say I am, right? I am, for me, I write down like I am earning however many dollars a month. I am leading my family spiritually every day. I am the host of the #1 morning show in the world, right? Even though these things aren't true yet, we want to write I am statements, because if we say I want, then we put ourselves in a state of want, and you're going to stay in a state of want. The universe will keep you in want. So we got to declare it. This is yours, right? What did Chris say earlier? This is between you and you. This is your battle with you. So declare it. I am the #1 service advisor in the world. I am the most profitable store in the country. Declare those things. As you declare them, you'll start to make moves towards making them true. Once we've done our gratitude and goals, step 4 is we got to take care of the physical. You got to take care of yourself physically. I don't know what that looks like for you. Maybe it's you go out on the golf course and swing some sticks. Maybe it's you're a walker. Maybe you got a Peloton, right? A Peloton, right? You got a Peloton as a gift, didn't you? Incredible. I think I saw one in your office too. So maybe you're riding your Peloton, or maybe you're a walker, or maybe you're a weightlifter or a runner, or whatever it is. But I want you to take care of yourself physically, because we've only got one of these. And I've seen what happens when we don't take care of ourselves. I've seen people on their deathbeds rotting away. My grandpa smoked 4 packs of cigarettes a day. Every day. So you got to take care of your bodies. You got to put yourself in a good spot physically so that this thing can run, this engine can churn, right? It can rock and roll so we can go out there and be efficient. And now step 5 is the most important step out of all of them. Hands down, bar none. Step 5 is I want you to send out an encouraging message to someone. See, here's what you've done, is you've spent the entire morning being selfish. You didn't hit the snooze button. You're listening to your music of choice. You're not answering any emails or any text messages. You're staying off your phone. You're writing down the things you're thankful for. You're writing down all your goals. You're taking care of yourself physically. You've been selfish all morning, which you need to be. It's incredibly important. However, now to get the full effect, we want to take this energy that we've created first thing in the morning and release it out into the world. And it's so easy nowadays. I can just send a text message that says, hey, Was just thinking about you. You did a great job yesterday. Appreciate you. Send. Takes 5 seconds. 5 seconds. Or maybe it's a post. Oh man, I really appreciate so-and-so. Da-da-da-da. Boom. You make a quick little post. You tag them in it. When you release this positive energy out into the world, and you start highlighting the things about the people around you that you value, what are you doing? You're starting to treat people the way they want to be treated, right? Because they want to be encouraged. They want to be pumped up. They want to be, they want you to say something nice about them, right? As we were walking in here, I noticed Chris said something to one of the ladies walking by. He was like, man, I really like those pants. It's easy. It's encouraging. It lifts them up. When you do this every single day, it'll blow your mind what happens. It'll blow your mind what starts coming back your way. All this positive stuff. Like I'll send out a quick little message. It's like 8 words, and then I'll get back 14 paragraphs. Glenn, you had no idea how much I needed to hear that today. You have no idea. I was down. I was kind of down on my luck. I was down on myself. I wasn't feeling good about it. I wasn't really excited about work today. I wasn't excited about this surgery I have to go do. I wasn't excited about this thing that I have to deal with. But then your one little message changed my day, changed my world. Thank you so much. You start getting messages like that every day. It's just fuel. It's just fire. So now I'm walking around like now I'm Superman, right? I done flexed, got my weights on. I got people telling me positive things, encouraging me. I know where my goals are, my targets. I'm feeling rested. I'm ready to take on the world. So I learned these things over time as I was trying to get my life, get my crap together. I learned all of these things. And these were the 5 most important things, the 5 simple things that changed my life. So then I started looking at my dealership. I started working at this dealership in a tiny little town, population 9,600. Dan Cummins Chevrolet, selling 120 cars a month. I started looking at the dealership and I'm going, how's the dealership start their day? What's that look like? And I'm looking over in the corner and my man Donnie Badgett's like, 68 years old. He's sitting over there with his newspaper, he's got his cup of coffee. Hey, good morning. I'm on my popcorn break right now. Donnie Badgett. And I see the other kids, the young guys, they're over there in the corner talking about, oh, Fortnite, dude, you see that dog? All this stuff, right? And then the one guy's like trudging in late, and he's like, dude, I'll buy donuts later, I'm sorry, right? Like, it was just, to be honest, it was just a shit show. First thing in the morning was chaos. So I'm like, wait a minute. If this stuff works for me as an individual, I wonder if it would work for my dealership. So I started thinking, how can I apply no snooze button to the dealership? Well, basically that means don't be late. Period. We start work at 8:30. That's what time we start work, at 8:30. If you're here at 8:31, not ready to work, it will cost you, and it will cost you a lot. We had 285 employees. If anybody was late to one of my sales meetings, which we had meetings every single day, anybody was late, they bought lunch for everyone. If you couldn't afford to buy lunch for everyone, I would take it out of your paycheck. And if you didn't want me to take it out of your paycheck, then you did not work. Oh, I don't know what's going on there. I guess we're getting an advanced Mac tuna. If you didn't want to pay, it's all right. If you didn't want to, are you guys like, you're almost out of time? No. But if you didn't want to do that, you just didn't work there. We just made it a rule. That was the rule. Like, work starts at 8:30. There's no trucking in late, none of that. Now, to follow that up, so never hit the snooze button, then the second thing is don't touch your phone first thing in the morning. Well, the whole point of not touching our phone first thing in the morning is I don't want our brains being fed a bunch of nonsense, right? Well, my guys' brains were being filled all kinds of nonsense first thing in the morning as they were shaking off their hangovers. And so I was like, let's have a meeting. Every single day. We'll have a meeting first thing in the morning. So now I get to choose how I fill their brains first thing in the morning versus letting them choose how they fill their brains. Make sense? And so in that meeting, then we would go into that next step, which is gratitude and goals, right? So I would start every meeting. I have this whole outline of what I call a perfect meeting. So I would set it up. We would have good energy. I was always the first person in the room. By the way, if you have meetings with your staff in the morning, you're the last one in the room, you got a problem. Leaders lead. You're the first one in the room. You're shaking hands. You're high-fiving. Welcome, guys. I'm glad you're here. All right? Nobody's going to respect you and show up at 8:30 if you're showing up at 8:31. Doesn't work. Okay, I need you there at 8:15. So I would be the first one in the room, and I would set the tone with good music. I'd make sure the words were appropriate, right? We're not killing and dying and all of that stuff. I would set the tone, I'd bring them in, and then we'd go right into gratitude as goals, which is I'm thankful for you. I'm thankful for your good Google review. I'm thankful for your good CSI score. I'm thankful that you got a good review. I'm thankful that you took care of that customer and went over and beyond. I'm thankful that you turned out 70 hours for me last week. Whatever it is, right? Gratitude. We'd go gratitude first thing in the morning, right there in the meeting. Then on top of that, right after the gratitude, we go into our goals. Where do we need to go? What's our next target? How do we turn more tickets? How do we turn more ROs? How are we more profitable? We go right into that. So I'd set the tone, right? Then the next step is to take care of the physical, right? So I'm like, okay, let's clean up our areas. Let's make sure our tools are ready. Let's make sure that we have the proper technology in place. Let's make sure we're using the right software. Let's make sure that everything's efficient. Let's make sure that we're following all of our processes, right? Like we have everything we need to be successful. Let's take care of the physical. And then from there, we'd send out an encouraging message to every single one of our customers every single day when they came into our store. Because my guys were ready. They were set. They were positive. They were in the right mindset. So when they were in front of my customers, they treated my customers the way the customer wanted to be treated. And in doing so, we grew 30% year over year over year over year over year over year over year. 800% in 5 years. From 120 cars to March of last year, March of last year, we sold 1,043 cars in this dealership.
Wow.
Population 9,600 people. Okay? 5,000 customer pay tickets, 140 oil changes a day, 96% CSI in our service department, 75% customer retention. It was amazing. It was amazing what we were able to do when we started treating people the way that they want to be treated, and we started applying this morning routine into our dealerships. Now, as I plugged all of this stuff into the store, I followed a little process that I want to share with you guys. It's something I call lead, and I talked to a couple of these guys about it the other night. Okay, there's a process called lead. Raise your hand if you're a leader. Anybody in here a leader? Everybody's a leader, right? Okay, so I want you to write this down, LEAD. It's an acronym, L-E-A-D-D, lead. Put an extra D on there, lead. All right, as you go into your stores and you want to teach people the morning 5 and you want to change the way that you start your day in your store and you want to grow and you want to be successful, you have to use this process called LEAD. Okay, and the L in LEAD stands for listen. A great leader always listens before he speaks. A great leader listens to his people. He listens to his customers. Always listen. 2 ears, 1 mouth. You've heard that, right? So as a great leader, I need you to listen more. We're so quick to solve problems, right? We're so quick to interject. We need to focus on listening. After we listen, we then encourage. That's the E. Great, John. I appreciate exactly what you said. I really appreciate you coming in here and sharing that with me. We're not going to use it, but I'm glad you came and shared it with me. Right? Listen, encourage. The A stands for advise. Now we're going to advise. John, we're not going to be able to use that. I really appreciate you sharing that with me. However, here's why, here's what, so on and so forth. We advise, right? Listen, encourage, advise, and then we develop. So to advise is to basically see the weak area and tell them how to make it stronger. To develop is a process. How many times have you said to yourself, dude, I've told this guy to do this 100 times and he never does it? Anybody ever said that? You ever thought that? You're like, how many times do I have to freaking tell this guy to do this and he'll never do it, right? It's frustrating. It's your fault. You haven't developed them. You've advised them on what to do, but you haven't developed them. Developing people takes a while. It's a process. See, there's actually something that goes on in the brain. There's biochemistry involved. They've finally, thank goodness, they've proven that mentally it takes 67 days, not mentally, but biologically, takes 67 days before something is easier to do than to not do. So for example, if I'm trying to create a habit of going to the gym, I have to go to the gym 67 days in a row. On day 66, it will be harder to go than to not go. On day 67, it will be harder to not go than to go. Developing people takes a process. It takes time. If we advise them once, advise them twice, advise them 4 times, they still don't get it, it's because you haven't developed them. 67 days to create a habit. Remember that. All right? So, and the last D in lead is daily. Listen, encourage, advise, and develop, and do it daily. You guys are leaders. You're leaders in the industry. You lead people. There's people that count on you. You have to do it every single day. You can't just do it on Tuesday or just on Wednesday or I'm going to do it on Friday. You got to do it every single day if you really want to move the needle in your stores, which I know that you guys do. So coming back around, as we treated people the way that they wanted to be treated, which I challenge you to do, I was able to have a lot of success in the store, and I've had a lot of success in my life. As I walked here this morning, this beautiful city of LA, as I walked here this morning, I walked down 8th Street. And of course, there's homeless people everywhere out there, right? There's homeless people everywhere out there. And I couldn't help but think, like, that was me. Those people that you walked by on your way here, that was me. Not too long ago. And it wasn't until I started applying this in my life every single day that I was able to climb out of that. And the reason I want to share, or the reason I think that that's important for you guys to walk away with today, is because you have more. You are capable of more. There's more you can do. You can get better as a leader. You can get stronger. You can get more disciplined. You have more. Your stores can produce more. You can make more profit. And all of that stuff sounds selfish, right? It's like, well, that's just for me. I get to do more. But the reality of it is this. As I've been able to climb from the streets to where I am now, I now have an opportunity to spend time with guys like you and girls like you. I have an opportunity. I have a show now that reaches 50,000 people a month. 50,000 people. My kids, all 7 of them, they get to travel. I'm meeting up with my 20-year-old tomorrow. We took her to Greece. They get to travel. So many other people are affected by your success. My good friend Danelle Delgado says it best. She says, who loses if you don't win? And that's a question I want you to ask yourself today. If you're giving 70%, who's losing because you're not giving 110? If you're at 90, but you know you got more, who's missing out? Who's losing? Is it your kids? Is it your spouse? Maybe it's somebody you don't even know. You work for the greatest industry on the planet. What happens in the automotive industry affects the world. You guys understand that? We are what makes the world go around. You are what makes the world go around. This industry. And so I plea with you this morning, my plea is to dig a little deeper. Drive a little bit harder. Help one more person, one extra. Follow those 5 simple steps every single day in your individual lives and in your store, and go out there and make a massive impact on this planet. Fair enough? Fair enough. Thank you guys so very, very much.